more relevant here. It takes place here, but they asked me to step forward and be kind of like the face guy. So I put my stamp of approval on the Olympia, but at the same time, I'm working to do some media correspondence type things and really just get out there and promote the experience of the Mr. Olympia, because it's not just, hey, you're coming to watch bodybuilding or fitness or men's physique event. You're coming to a whole experience of like the expo and motivational things that, these expos bring to a lot of people. Getting to go face to face and getting to try different things and involve yourself in different activities that happen over that weekend. And granted, the shows are in 2 different locations. The show itself is at the Orleans. Some of it's at the convention center.
Do you think they should bring it under one roof?
Yeah.
I absolutely I agree with that.
It used to be at Mandalay Bay. I mean, years ago. That's when it all started. 1999 was the first year I did the show. I was second to last in that show, but they did have a small expo. Remember, that's before expos were really present at the bodybuilding events. The big draw was actually the event, but we didn't also have all the other divisions. It was just men's and women's bodybuilding at that point. And there were a lot less people competing. I mean, there were only 15 guys in the show that year.
Is it more exciting to have a consecutive winner year in and year out and have the battle like you and Ronnie have, or is it more exciting when it's wide open?
I think it's more exciting when it's wide open. I think the same guy winning all the time, although unfortunately, a lot of these sports, there's a dominant figure, right? So it's not like any other thing, like a basketball or baseball. There's certain athletes that do stand out when they're present on championship teams. There's going to be certain factors that allow them the advantage to be able to be the victors, right? So I think it's something we can't fight. I mean, if we look at the records of, Arnold winning 7, Lee Haney winning 8, Ronnie winning 8, Phil Heath 7, Dorian Yates 6, me 4, and then so on and so on. It's just the guys, it's very rare that the guys turn one in and one out the next year.
And it's going to be wide open this year with the recent news of Shawn. And obviously, we're going to wait till that unfolds and that plays out. Hopefully, obviously, that plays the process out. It was, an unfortunate thing, but I mean, do you have anything you want to comment on the Shawn thing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's unfortunate, and right now it's accusations, right? Until it's sorted out, AMI took the stance that any business or entity would take that has a brand, and they said, listen, we don't want to tie ourselves in the middle of it.
Let him go through the process.
Yeah, we don't. They're not saying that the guy's guilty necessarily. They're saying that, listen, there's a lot of bad press involved around this. We're trying to have a positive outcome with this contest, and it makes a lot of sense if the brand, listen, if the guy gets convicted or doesn't get convicted, either way, there's a spin to it, right? Later, AMI, they supported him by letting him compete, even though he was convicted. And, if he's found not guilty.
If he's exonerated, I believe, and I'll say this, Jay, I'll put it out there. If he's exonerated, I think the sport should go out of its way to lift him up as well.
But, John, it may be too late by then. I mean, the guy's 44 years old. He's the current champ. I mean, he sits out this year. Next year, he's 45. A new Mr. Olympia rolls in, right? You know how hard it is to
unseat a champion.
Right? It's very, very difficult. I mean, I'm the only one in history to ever lose the title and come back and win it the next year with a new champion in place, right? Dexter. So it's just you're against the odds. And with age, I mean, he's the oldest ever, right, to win the title. He won at 43. And it's going to be a difficult road because it's not going to happen in the next 2 months that this thing's just going to, unless just some by some.
No, it's going to be a long process.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to have to dig his heels in,
and it's going to be a lot of money. I mean, it's unfortunate, and it's going to be exposure that's not something that is a positive thing, right?
No, there's going to be,
and no matter what, it's going to hang over his head till the end of time.
Yeah, there'll be no positive exposure that comes out of it, but. Obviously it has to play the process out. As much as you try not to condemn someone beforehand, it's got to play the process out. So, obviously, I think AMI did do the right thing. I think it's in the best interest of them to sit back and let the process play out. And I explained it to someone that came at me a little bit with that, and I said, look, if it was the NFL, they would, and it was a domestic abuse, they would do the same thing. They would suspend him or they would make him sit out. And it just is what it is. if he's out and it's wide open, everybody's been throwing names around as who would be a contender. I hate to put you on the spot because I know it's a shitty thing, you know, to try to say, hey, maybe this guy, maybe that guy. Who jumps in now, and who are the top 2 or 3 guys?
Well, hey, John, let me interject.
Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
On that one. So you want to look at a situation like that too. Kind of look back to Mike Tyson's situation back when he was at his prime and he caught a case, and mentally after that, it just changes you.
Right.
And more than likely, that might actually happen to Shawn too.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
Yeah, but Shawn's a beast. Like he doesn't. I know Shawn on a personal level, so like, and I was super supportive of him as he made his quest to become, you know, the 14th Mr. Olympia. He's very strong in his mind. Yes, this is definitely a setback, but at the same time, like, he's taking it with stride, right? But right now, it's just it's a mess, you know.
Yeah.
And yes, but I think it's more of a time thing with his age. Like, okay, by the time this thing clears up, what can you do with your body? You know, it's kind of like they talk about that ring rust, like guys that box, right? Once they're out for a certain time, it's very hard to get. And you're talking to a guy that tried to come back after an injury, and I was sat out and lived real life for almost 2 years, and I came back and I thought, oh man, I'm going to come in and demolish these guys, and I placed worst I placed in 10 years, you know, 6th. And it was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, it's gonna, the age is gonna be definitely a factor because, like you said, he is the oldest to get the crown, so it's gonna be a tough road to hoe for him. It's gonna definitely be